There's a quiet terror in situations where nothing is overtly wrong, yet every instinct tells you to leave. It lives in forced politeness, in shared spaces that feel increasingly invasive, in the social pressure to be agreeable, even as boundaries begin to erode. What starts as a minor inconvenience slowly transforms into something predatory, revealing how easily comfort can become a weapon and intimacy a tool for control. At its core, this story explores the danger of ignoring unease, the fragility of relationships under scrutiny, and the unsettling truth that the most disturbing threats often arrive smiling, asking us to trust them. Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF. There's something uniquely unsettling about stories that begin with a small social inconvenience. Something so minor it feels rude to resist. Bone Lake taps directly into that discomfort. From the moment the two couples realize they've double-booked the same remote lake house, I felt the familiar tension of being trapped by politeness. The film doesn't rush into horror. Instead, it lingers in that awkward middle space, where nothing is technically wrong, yet everything feels off. That slow burn is where Bone Lake does its most effective work. What struck me most is how the film weaponizes intimacy. The shared space forces closeness, shared meals, shared glances, shared silences. And those moments become increasingly invasive. Conversations stretch a little too long. Compliments feel loaded. Eye contact lingers. The film understands that real fear doesn't always announce itself with violence. Sometimes it arrives with a happy face, asking harmless questions, testing boundaries under the guise of friendliness. Watching the central couple slowly lose their footing felt less like watching characters make bad decisions, and more like watching people do what we're all conditioned to do: avoid conflict, even when our instincts are screaming at us. The lake house itself becomes an extension of that unease. It's bright, open, almost luxurious. Nothing like the shadowy, decaying spaces we normally associate with horror. The contrast makes the film more disturbing in its own way. There's no visual permission to be afraid. The setting suggests safety, relaxation, even some indulgence, which makes the emotional erosion happening inside feel all the more invasive. The film seems to suggest that danger doesn't always hide in darkness. Sometimes it thrives within comfort. As the film progresses, the dynamic between the two couples takes on a parasitic quality. Will and sin don't just intrude physically. They insert themselves emotionally, probing weaknesses, amplifying insecurities that already exist. What unsettled me is how little force they needed to exert. The cracks were already there. The horror emerges not because the protagonists are naive, but because they're human, uncertain, disconnected, trying to salvage intimacy while pretending everything is fine. In that way, Bone Lake feels less like a home invasion thriller, and more like a quiet dissection of relational fragility. The tonal shift in the final act is jarring, and I found myself conflicted by it. On one hand, the escalation into overt violence feels almost inevitable. The tension has to rupture somewhere. On the other, there's a sense that something is lost when the film trades psychological dread for explicit horror. The earlier moments, built on implication and emotional manipulation, linger with me longer than the bloodshed. Still, even this shift reinforces the film's core idea. When boundaries are ignored long enough, the consequences are never subtle. By the time Bone Lake ends, what stayed with me wasn't just the shock or the twists, but the uncomfortable recognition of myself in the setup. How often do we stay silent to avoid awkwardness? How often do we prioritize social harmony over our own safety? The film doesn't punish its characters for curiosity or desire. It punishes them for ignoring the quiet voice that tells them something isn't right. Bone Lake isn't a perfect film, but it is an effective one. It unsettles not because it's brutal, but because it's all too familiar. It takes the everyday fear of being trapped in an uncomfortable situation and slowly reveals how dangerous that instinct to be nice can ultimately become. Long after the credits rolled, I was left thinking not about the violence, but about all the times I've ignored my own unease, and how easily horror can slip in when we make that choice. Well, friends, that's gonna be all for now. If you are interested in this film, I urge you to check it out for yourself and formulate your own thoughts and opinions about it. I hope you come share those thoughts and opinions in the comments. Let me know if there are any movies that you would like to see discussed on this channel. I always love to hear from you guys, and I do my best to try and respond to everyone. As always, I've put a link down in the description to a physical copy of this film, if one exists, that you can add to your collection. Using that link helps out the channel, and that's always appreciated. If you like this video, I urge you to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you aren't already. I know that some of you watching aren't subscribed, so help out the channel and subscribe. If you'd like to go the extra mile and support the channel even more, we do have a couple options for you to do so. You can join us on Patreon, where you can get yourself early access to future videos, Patreon exclusive content, and access to the ETF Digital Archive. We get a lot of compliments about the VHS collection that you guys see in the background of our videos. Well, we've been hard at work slowly digitizing the collection and creating a place where we can share it with all of you. Thanks to the help of the Plex platform, we can now do just that. This is our way of doing our part in helping preserve that gritty, nostalgic VHS look and feeling before it's gone forever. With Plex, you can stream our VHS collection from anywhere at any time. It's basically like having a streaming service for VHS, which I think is pretty cool. Additionally, if you're tired of adding to your growing list of monthly subscriptions, you can help support the channel on Ko-Fi, where you can drop a single tip, the cost of a cup of coffee, or less. No pressure, no tiers required. But with all the same monthly benefits that you will find on Patreon offered as well. We also have a Mercari store where you can go and get yourself a little piece of the ETF archive. While collecting VHS, Blu-rays, and DVDs over many years, we wind up with lots of duplicates, and we unfortunately can't store them all. So on our Mercari shop, we have all of those for sale. Purchasing those not only expands your collection, but makes room for us to expand ours. All the links for everything are down in the description. Until next time, stay safe, and as always, thanks for watching.